Hello students, my name is Niyati Seth and thanks for watching Wikipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is the 7th section of circulatory system, that is lymphatic system. Okay. Before lymphatic system, we have already studied blood vascular system. So this is our second system of our body. The lymphatic system is a extensive drainage network that helps keep bodily fluid levels in balance and defends the body against infections. The lymphatic system is made up of a network of lymphatic vessels. These vessels, they carry lymph. What is lymph now? Lymph is a clear, watery fluid that contains protein, molecules, salts, glucose, urea, and other substances throughout the body. The spleen is located in the upper left part of the abdomen, under the rib cage. It works as a part of a lymphatic system to protect the body, and thus it clears out worn out red blood cells, and that's the reason spleen is also known as graveyard of RBCs, that is red blood cells, because it helps in clearing worn out, or you can say the dead RBCs and other foreign bodies from the bloodstream to help fight off infection. Okay. So you can say that the lymphatic system is a network of tissue and organs that help rid the body of toxins, waste, and other unwanted materials. The primary function of the lymphatic system is to transport lymph, a fluid that contains infection-fighting WBCs throughout the body. Okay. Now, the question arises, why they are important? Why the lymphatic system is important? So, one of the important lymphatic system major job is to collect extra lymph fluid from the body tissues and return it to the blood. This process is very important because water, proteins, and other substances, they are continuously leaking out of tiny blood capillaries into surrounding body tissues. If the lymphatic system did not drain the excess fluid, it would build up in our body tissues and they would swell. So this is the reason lymphatic system is of vital importance in our body. The second reason why they are important is because the lymphatic system, it also helps defend the body against germs like viruses, bacteria, fungi that can cause illness. Those germs are filtered out in the lymph nodes, which are small masses of the tissue which are located along the network of lymph vessels. The nodes house lymphocytes, a type of WBC. Some of those lymphocytes can make antibodies also, special proteins that can fight off germs and stop infection from spreading by trapping disease-causing germs, and thus it destroys them. Okay. So the lymphatic system primarily consists of vessels, lymphatic vessels, which are similar to the circulatory system veins and capillaries. The vessels, they are connected to the lymph nodes where the lymph is filtered. Okay, always remember what happens in lymph node. Lymph node, it always filters the lymph. Okay, now which are the organs which are responsible for this draining? Tonsils, adenoids, spleen, and thymus, they are all the parts of the lymphatic system. Okay. So, if we see their basic anatomy, then you can say that the lymphatic system is a network of a very small tubes, which we call it as lymphatic vessels, that drain lymph fluid from all over the body. The major parts of the lymph tissues are located in bone marrow, spleen, adenoids, tonsils, and thymus. Okay. You will be amazed to know that the heart, lungs, intestine, liver, skin, they also contain lymphatic tissues. Okay. And one of the major lymphatic vessel is thoracic duct, which begins near the lower part of our spine, students, and thus it collects lymph from the pelvis, abdomen, and lower chest. Okay, and the thoracic duct, it runs up through the chest, and thus it empties into the blood through a large vein near the left side of the neck. And what's the another duct? Apart from thoracic duct, there is another duct which we call it as right lymphatic duct. Okay, it is other major lymphatic vessel. It collects lymph from the right side of the neck, chest, and arm, and thus it empties into the large vein near the right side of the neck. Okay. Now the question arises, we are studying lymphatic system, but what is lymph? Lymph is an interstitial fluid which is picked up by lymphatic capillaries, which we call it as lymph. Okay, which we call it as lymph. Lymph very closely resembles the plasma which is found in the veins. It is a mixture of about 90% water and 10% solute. And which are those solutes? Proteins, cellular waste products, dissolved gases, and hormones. Okay. Now, lymph may also contain bacterial cells that are picked up from diseased tissues, and white blood cells, they fight those pathogens. Okay. Lymph node, if we talk about the lymph node, then they are very round or kidney shaped, and most of the lymph nodes, they are about 1 centimeter in diameter, but they can vary in size. Okay, and most of the lymph nodes are found in the clusters in the neck, armpit, and the groin area. Okay, and the nodes, they are also located along the lymphatic pathways in the chest, abdomen, and pelvis, and where they filter the blood. Okay, and inside the lymph nodes, 2 types of lymphocytes are found. Which are those 2 lymphocytes? T cells and beta cells. They help the body fight infections. Okay, and the lymphatic tissue is also scattered throughout the body in different major organs and in and around the gastrointestinal tract. Okay. So, in summary, if we see, then lymphatic system, it includes lymph, lymph vessel, lymph nodes. Okay. Now the question arises, what is lymph? Lymph, I have already told you that it is a colorless liquid connective tissue whose composition is similar to the blood except for RBCs, platelets, and some other plasma proteins. It also contains carbon dioxide and other metabolic waste. Now, what is the lymphatic capillaries? Because lymphatic system, it includes lymph, lymph vessels, lymph capillaries, lymph nodes. So, we have already studied what is lymph. Now comes lymphatic capillaries. They are very thin-walled vessels which are present in the tissue spaces. They are interwoven. Interwoven means overlapped by the blood capillaries but are not connected with them. They have a number of walls and are wider than blood capillaries, but their diameter is not at all uniform. Okay. Each lymphatic capillary has one blind end and its wall is lined by single layer of flat endothelial cells which rest on a poorly developed basement membrane. Okay. Now comes lymph vessel. Lymph vessel, many lymphatic capillaries, they unite to form lymph vessels. They are similar to veins but have thinner wall and more numerous walls than veins. Okay. And the smaller lymph vessels, they unite to form large lymph vessels. Okay. I have already told you that there are two major types of lymph vessels. Which are those? First is your thoracic duct and second is your right lymphatic duct. Okay. What thoracic duct do? It receives lymph from the left side of the head, neck, chest and left upper extremity. You can say that it collects lymph from all the left side parts, or you can say left upper extremities and entire body below the ribs. It is therefore often called as main collecting duct of the lymphatic system. The lymphatic vessels, they come from intestine, have a milky appearance due to presence of absorbed fats and are hence often called as lacteals. Lacteals will be studying, okay? But for the time being, just know that they are called as lacteals. Thoracic duct, they open at the junction between the left internal jugular vein and the left subclavian vein, okay? And what about the second vessel, second lymph vessel? As I have told you that there are two major type of lymph vessels, thoracic duct and right lymphatic duct. Okay, so what right lymphatic duct do? It drains lymph from the upper right side of the body into the right internal jugular vein, okay, and right subclavian vein, okay. And we have already studied lymph, lymph vessel and lymph capillary. Now what is left? Lymph node. Lymph node, they are oval, circular or irregular masses that lie at intervals along the length of lymph vessels. They are compassed of reticular tissue which are covered by fibrous tissue. They contain macrophages, plasma cells and lymphocytes. As the lymph flows through the lymph nodes, macrophages, they remove the macroorganisms, foreign particles, cellular debris, etc. Okay, and the lymphocytes, they undergo maturation and proliferation in the lymph node. Okay, lymph nodes, they are scattered all over the body but are maximum in the region like neck, armpit and the groin regions. Okay. So what is this? This is our these are our arteries that form the arterioles, and this is the vein which forms the venule. And what is this? This is your capillary. Okay, these blue lines are representing lymphatic vessels with the lymph, and what are these? Red lines denoting they are oxygenated blood which flows at a high pressure. Okay, and what are these? These are your tissue fluids. Okay, and what are these compartment types? These are your body cells. And what is filled in between these oxygenated blood? It also contains blood plasma. Okay, so this is oval shape is your capillary. Okay, and this forms a vein. When many capillaries join, then they form vein. Okay, so the exchange of the nutrients, gases, etc. between the blood and the cells occur through this fluid. Okay, and some tissues fluid enters lymphatic system, a system of lymph vessel and lymph gland, and the tissue fluid in them is called as lymph. Lymph drains back to the major veins. Okay, you can a question may pop up in your mind that how lymphatic system it carry away the waste. Lymph fluid, it drains into very tiny vessels, which we call it as tiny capillaries, lymph capillaries. So the fluid is then pushed along through the capillaries when a person breathes or muscle contract. The lymph capillaries are very thin. These capillaries are very thin and they have many tiny openings that let gases, water, nutrients pass through to the surrounding cells, and thus it nourishes them, okay, and take away waste products. When lymph fluid passes through in this way, it is called as interstitial fluid, okay. This is known as interstitial fluid. And the lymphatic vessels, when they collect the interstitial fluid and then return it to the blood stream by emptying it into large vein in the upper chest near the neck, okay. Now, what are the functions of lymphatic system? So, if we talk about the functions of lymph, then lymphatic system drains excess tissue fluid from the extracellular spaces back into the blood, and thus it helps in maintaining the volume and the consistency of the blood at the same time. Now, what's the second function? That it carries carbon dioxide and other metabolic waste that diffuse into the tissue fluid to the blood. And third, it adds to the immunity as it has lymphocytes, okay, and the macrophages in the lymph node, it destroys the cellular debris, invading microorganisms and other foreign particles. It also helps in absorption and transportation of fat from the intestine to the blood, okay. So you can say that it helps in defensive mechanism of body. It transports digestive fats through lacteals. Remember, I have told you what lacteals are. Through lacteals in the intestinal villi, fat-soluble vitamins, hormones, etc. And it also helps in the filtration of bacteria and other foreign particles, okay. So these are the functions of lymph. What is this? This is your lacteal, okay. This is a tiny lymphatic vessel. This is your tiny lymphatic vessel, which we call it as lacteal, that helps in the transportation of digested fats, okay. What is this blue line representing? This blue line is representing your lymph blood capillaries that has lymph in it, okay. And what is these? These are your thin epithelium, okay, that forms the outer covering of the lymph tissue, okay. Now comes the how things that can go wrong. Certain diseases can affect the lymph nodes, the spleen, or the collection of lymphoid tissue in certain areas of the body. First is your lymphangiomatosis. Lymphangiomatosis, okay. In this, it is a condition that involves multiple cysts or lesions formed from lymphatic vessels, okay, and it is thought to be the result of genetic mutation, okay. And it is seen that certain diseases that can affect the lymph node, the spleen, or the collection of the lymphoid tissue in certain areas of the body. So, second is your lymphadenopathy. Okay, this is a condition where lymph node becomes swollen or enlarged, and thus usually because of a nearby infection. Swollen lymph node in the neck, for example, can be caused by a throat infection. Okay, once the infection is treated, the swelling usually goes away. Okay. Now comes lymphoma. What is lymphoma? Lymphoma, this is a cancer of lymph nodes. These cancers start in the lymph node when lymphocytes undergo changes and starts to multiply out of control. Because what is cancer? Cancer is an indefinite growth of cells. So what happens in lymphoma? This is a cancer that starts in the lymph node, and when lymphocytes, they undergo changes and it starts to multiply out of control. Okay, the lymph nodes, they swell and the cancer cells crowd out healthy cells and may cause tumors. Tumors are the solid growths in other parts of the body. It causes tumors in the other parts of the body. Okay, so I hope lymphoma is clear to you. Now comes Castleman disease. Castleman disease is a group of inflammatory disorders that cause lymph node enlargement and can result in multiple organ dysfunction. Okay. One is also seen splenomegaly. Splenomegaly, in this, enlarged spleen is seen in the patient. In someone who is healthy, the spleen is usually small enough. That is, it can be felt when you press on the abdomen. But certain diseases can cause the spleen to swell to several times or several folds its normal size. And most commonly, this is due to a viral infection such as mononucleosis. Okay, but in some cases, more serious discussion such as cancer can cause the spleen to expand. Okay. Now comes lymphangiomatoses. Okay, lymphangiomatoses is a disease that involves multiple cysts or lesions that are formed from lymphatic vessels. One more I would like to discuss it with you all is lymphadenitis. Okay, lymphadenitis I forgot to mention here in my slides, but yes, I am explaining you that in lymphadenitis, it is also called as adenitis. Okay, this inflammation of the lymph node is caused by an infection of the tissue in the node. Okay, and the infection can cause the skin overlying the lymph node to swell, redden and feel warm and tender to touch. Okay, it usually affects the lymph node in the neck and is often caused by bacterial infections that can be easily treated with an antibiotic. Okay, and it is one common is seen, that is tonsillitis. Tonsillitis, it is caused by an infection of the tonsils, the lymphoid tissue in the back of the mouth at the top of the throat that normally help to filter out bacteria. When the tonsils are infected, they become swollen and inflamed. Okay, and can cause sore throat, fever and difficulty in swallowing. Okay, and the infection can also spread to the throat and surrounding areas, and that cause pain and inflammation. Okay, and someone with repeated tonsil infections or tonsillitis may need to have them removed in a procedure called as tonsillectomy. Okay, tonsillectomy, I repeat. Tonsil, just break the terminology and you will get to know the exact meaning. What is tonsillectomy? Tomy means removal and tonsil, you all know. So the removal of tonsil is known as tonsillectomy. Okay, so this comes to an end. Thank you and keep watching Edupedia word videos.